Hi guys, welcome to another maths video. Today we're going to be looking at 2D shapes and I'm going to be going through the properties of a shape and anything else that might make each shape different. But the first thing we're going to go through are the properties of a 2D shape. The first thing we're going to look at in a 2D shape is how many sides it has. So we're going to start with a circle, which if you look carefully, it's only got one long and curved side. So the reason it's only got one is because it's a curved side. If it was a straight line, it wouldn't look like a shape at all. It would just look like a line because that can't go anywhere. But because it's curved, it can go round and make one shape, which is a circle. Okay, so a circle has one side and it's a curved side. Let's look at another shape. Let's look at a triangle. So a triangle has three sides. I've got one here, and one here. So that means a triangle has three sides. Okay, now none of them are curved and they're all the same size. So that means the triangle has three equal sides. Let's look at a couple more shapes. Let's go for a square. So a square has got 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and they're all the same size, which means just like the triangle, it has all equal and straight sides. Now let's look at one where the sides aren't the same. So we've got here a semicircle. So we've got one straight line and we've got one curved line. So if you compare it to the circle just has one line going all the way around, but this one stops halfway through the circle. So it's half of a circle and it's got one curved side and one straight side, which means it has two sides. Let's look at one more and then I'm going to talk about something else. Let's look at an octagon. So you might know how many it has already, but let's count. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides. And they are all the same size, which means it has 8 equal sides. Now let's look at a shape that doesn't have all equal sides. Let's look at a shape that you should all know. A rectangle. I've got one short side here and another short side here. I've got a long side and another long side. So I've got two equal sides here, so one pair of short sides, and I've got two equal sides this way, so two long sides. Okay, but altogether I've got 4 sides. They're not equal, but I have 2 pairs of equal sides. The next thing we're going to look at is vertices, which in simpler words is a corner. So let's look at the triangle again. So the vertice is the corner of your shape. So this is a vertice here. I've got another one here. And I've got another one over here. So my triangle has got 1, 2, and 3 vertices. Now, you don't need to call it a vertice if you don't want to, you can call it a corner. Let's look at another shape. Let's see what shape this is. I haven't counted it yet, but after we do, I'll tell you what shape it is. So let's count the vertices. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've got 9 vertices, which means I've also got 9 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which means this shape is a nonagon, which has 9 sides and 9 vertices. So let's look at the semicircle again, because that one was a little bit different to the other shapes. So it doesn't have all curved sides or all straight sides, it's got one of each. but it still has vertices. It has one point here, which is another word for it. So one vertex there and one vertex there. So my semicircle has got two vertices. The next thing I'm going to look at is symmetry. So we're going to see how many lines of symmetry each shape has. The first one we're going to look at is a equilateral triangle. So all of the sides are the same. And I'm just going to use my ruler to make sure that I draw straight lines. So symmetry is when one side of the shape is the same as another side of the shape. So if I draw a line right down the middle of my triangle, it should be the same on both sides. Didn't get it in the middle, let me just do it again. Okay, so if I look at one side here and my other side, you can see that they're both the same. If I fold it, it might be easier. Okay. So this is the same as this. That's how you know that you have a line of symmetry. Now, if I turn my triangle, I can draw another line. And this will be my second line of symmetry. Okay, so that's two, and I can turn it again this way. And that will be my third line of symmetry. And you can see that they all meet in the middle, which means that they're definitely symmetrical. Okay, so my triangle, my equilateral triangle, has three lines of symmetry. Let's look at another shape. Let's look at the square. Okay, so I can draw one line of symmetry down the middle this way. It's not quite in the middle, let me just move it a little bit. Okay, so this side and this side, if I fold it again, you can see are both the same. So that is the same as that. And then I can turn my square this way now. Try and get it in the middle. That is another line of symmetry. I'm not doing it quite in the middle, but when I fold it, you can see it again. So that's two lines of symmetry. That is the same as that. And I can also do it like a diamond. If I join one corner to the other, that will be another line of symmetry. And then the same on this side as well. And that will give me my fourth line of symmetry, which is how many a square has. So I've got one like this, one this way as well, and then I can do my corners too. So this is the same as that. Okay, the next thing we're looking at is parallel and perpendicular lines. So a parallel line is when a shape has two lines that are never going to meet. So for example, if you just look at the ruler first, I've got one line here and one line here. If they were to keep going, they would never meet. So it's a bit like train tracks. If they weren't parallel, then the train wouldn't be able to stay on it. So these two lines, because they're straight and they're not turned a little bit, that means that they will never touch each other, which means they're parallel. So let's look at a shape now to see if it has any parallel lines. So let's look at my decagon. Let's just count the sides. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, that's not my decagon, that's my octagon, but that's okay. So this has 8 sides. Now we're going to look at which lines are parallel. So opposite lines should be parallel. So this line and this line, if they keep going, I'm going to try and draw it as straight as I can. If it was to keep going, they wouldn't meet because they're opposite and all of the sides are equal, which means that if they kept going, they would never meet, and that means that they're parallel. Now, I can do that for the rest of the opposite angles as well. For the opposite sides. So that one and that one, they're parallel too. and then the same for these two, and finally these two as well. So it's got 4 pairs of parallel lines in my octagon. Let's look at one more shape that has parallel lines. Let's go for my rectangle. So let's look at the long sides first. So if they kept going, that one and that one, they're parallel because they would never meet. And then the short ones as well, if that kept going, and if that one kept going, because they're straight, they're never going to meet. Okay, so that's what parallel lines are. Let's look at perpendicular lines now. So my rectangle, if you look carefully, because I've got one line coming down here and one coming here, if you look at them like this, I can see that they're a right angle, which is 90 degrees. That means that it's a perpendicular line, because when the two lines meet, they make a right angle. I can do this with my square as well. So I've got one line coming down here and one coming across that way, and it makes a right angle. Which brings me on to our next words. Now we're going to look at angles next, and the first one we're going to look at is right angles. So we've already seen what it is when we drew our perpendicular line, which was 2 lines, and when they meet, they made a right angle, which is 90 degrees. Okay, so it has to be 90 degrees. If it's less or more, it's not a right angle. So if I get my square, because it has a perpendicular line, that means it has a right angle on every corner, which means it has 4 right angles. Now let's look at acute angles. So acute angle is next. I've got my equilateral triangle. If I draw my lines, you can see that the angle it makes isn't big enough to be a right angle. So that means it's less than 90 degrees. And if it's less than 90 degrees, that means it's an acute angle. So all of my angles on my triangle are all the same, which means they should all be 60 degrees, and they're all acute angles. Now let's look at a shape with obtuse angles. I'm going to use my pentagon. So if I draw my line here and there, the angle that it made isn't straight enough to be a right angle, which means it's a little bit bigger. So it looks like it's about 100 or 110 degrees, which makes it an obtuse angle because it's more than 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm not going to show you any more, but think about all of the different shapes and which angles, sides, vertices, and lines they all might have. Okay, so any shape that you want, that's 2D, you can use. So it can be a circle, a triangle, a square, a rectangle, and then you have a pentagon, hexagon, heptagon, octagon, nonagon, and however high you want to go, you can test yourself and you can just see if you can label what each shape might have. Okay everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something. In the next video we're going to be looking at some more shapes, including 3D shapes, and we're also going to be looking at some word problems including shapes.